Good evening or good morning out there in entertainment land. This is Nico Primetime trying to get everything settled here with my hair, my perfect hair. Anyway, with me tonight and or morning, whenever you're watching it out there, is Mr. Bob and Mr. J.
Yep.
JB.
Hello.
Bob just has well, I thought it was a screwdriver that he was flying around there for a second there.
It's part screwdriver and part comb, so it does a little bit of both,
It's a
depending on what you're
hybrid.
trying to get done.
It's a hybrid.
Multi-tool. You'll want some more.
I'm trying to get this screw out. Oh wait, my hair looks bad. Hold on. Okay, I can go back
My
to the
hair's
screwing.
bad.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right,
Sometimes you have
so
to do
tonight
maintenance.
we're gonna have a
Yes.
special kind of episode tonight. We're gonna kind of recount what we did 20 years ago on the infamous 9/11 attacks, and then we're gonna go in and you know have our little say about how we felt about Norm Macdonald. Then we have two movies to talk about, so it's actually gonna be a great
Oof.
episode. So.
Ouch.
So, what were we doing that infamous day? That's kind of hard for us to talk about, but we will because I think
Mm.
it's good because it's 20 years after. Actually, before we get into that, I was watching a video on online, and it was 20 years after, and was a landowner in Pennsylvania where the third plane, or by this time, what fourth plane, went down,
Mhm.
and there was just talking about how people, this woman said, "I'm sorry this happened to your land." He's like, "My land," you know. It
Yeah.
just I guess he couldn't go back um, in certain areas for a while because things were still falling out of the trees from the debris that after the plane went down. Is
That's
that
terrible. Fallout
yeah?
like that? Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually what a way to start this show talking about this. It's very hard, but anyway. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Well, the 11th just passed us, right?
It did. Yeah.
It did. The
it
11th
did.
for
But
us was
this,
last Saturday. So,
20th anniversary.
did you guys
Yeah.
watch anything on TV for 9/11? Well, Jay, you don't have TV, so
I
it's hard.
didn't.
You're like, I
Yeah.
skipped that part.
I didn't. I didn't.
I abstain.
No. It was just, it's one of those. I think it's one of those, events where that was for our generation. That's our John F. Kennedy moment.
Mhm.
Like I think everyone who grew up who was like of
That's a
sound
really good way of
mind.
saying it, JFK
Yeah.
moment, because there are conspiracies around both. Smart man. Good job.
There are, yeah. I mean, the conspiracies aside, I do think it's the JFK moment for our generation because everybody knows where you were, what you were doing. You could just recount. You could recount it.
Yeah,
So,
cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
yeah.
so
And heck yeah.
where were you?
I was home. I was home, living at home at the time and going to college, and I forget the yeah. So yeah, I was living at home, going to college, and I was playing in a cover band actually at the
Oh
time.
wow, well, that's
We had to
interesting.
Yeah, we were playing a show that night. We actually played a show that night. It was very odd. It was very
Wow.
strange.
So
Wow.
like
Yeah.
the night before, you mean, or like the night?
No,
That
the night, like the
Wow.
night, like
Oh,
the morning,
dude.
that's
the
really
morning of
strange.
the morning of September 11th, and I remember it was at this club called Club Excess. I remember calling the booking agent that was like booking shows for us and asking her if we were still playing, and she's like, "Yeah, absolutely. The club's going to stay open. Just as a space for people to come in and be together and process stuff together."
Mhm.
And it
Wow.
actually turned out, yeah, it turned out when we showed up there, the place was absolutely packed.
Okay.
So I don't
So
know if
people
it
came out
was
that night, is what you're saying.
people were out.
There you go.
They
People
went
were out.
unity.
They were pissed off. They were sad. They wanted to be together with people, and we just it was a cover band. We were playing cover songs,
Yeah.
of heavy rock at that time, and it was just like we entertained people and played. It was really odd. It was strange,
But you know
but
what?
good.
Sorry. But you know, the music heals,
Yeah,
and I think
Yeah.
maybe that was part of it.
I think so.
And I also people didn't really know what to do.
They didn't.
No, they
And
didn't. I can frame off that. I just saw an
is.
article on Vice TV, and this talks about exactly what both are talking about. They said that people, and I'm just sitting there watching this. Just I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just listening to the words that were coming at me,
Yeah.
and it was saying comedically, people weren't sure if they could laugh again. Was it too soon to laugh? Was it too soon to talk about things? Was it too soon to process things with your friends or your family, or feel things together with loved ones around you? And to a very degree, yes, we all did that, but we didn't know when it was okay. So they said that comics and kind of the entertainment world together decided, well, let's let one of our leaders decide what to say first. So the comedic leader at that time, as viewed by them, was David Letterman, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think they let him do it, or who was around? Yeah,
He made it okay.
Yeah. Well, he's the first one that got. He came out and he said whatever he had to say that night, and then I think not long after that, and this takes care of the article, like that Saturday, because I'm not sure what day it was on. Saturday Night Live had all the people that responded and tried to help out, kind of fitting on the stage before SNL started with the mayor. And that was them trying to say, well, we're dealing with this. We're talking about this. We're showing you this now. So it is okay. And it's not too soon. And this is something we have to start working on as a nation and a people. This happened to us.
Right.
It's happened
That's
in the
very good,
U.S.
Bob. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking before about King's. You're at King's during this.
Yeah, I was at King's. Yeah, I was just leaving a class. I walked out of the building. Someone popped up on a bench, and they started yelling that there was a bomb threat, I think, at King's College. And we're like, oh, no.
Really?
What's going on? So we started to
That's
dismiss
bizarre.
and disperse. And by the time I made it back to my grandmother's place to sit down and have a sandwich at the kitchen table, I looked at the television. I'm like, what's that? I'm like, this isn't, what's that? And then I kept trying to get what I was looking at around the fact that my brain had to deal with that was actually happening in New York. And the feed we were watching was pretty much live. And then once I came to that very real realization, that was uncharted territory.
It was a Tuesday morning.
Tuesday. Okay, yeah. So if Letterman talked that night, then SNL would have said something by Saturday. So cool. And that was the comedic party, or the comedians that united, or just comedy in itself saying, hey, we're here. We know what to do. You can laugh, and let's try to do this together and see if it helps. Like you said, heal. Because laughing is healing. Song is healing. Entertainment's healing. That's for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
So, thank you. But and thank you, Jay, too. The night before, I was in a literature class at Marywood University, and this was a time where the professor was the late Barbara Hoffman, and she was pretty well.
Barbara.
Yes, at the actually, I think Bob, you may have met Barbara Hoffman when I had my graduation party for grad school. Yeah. So at any rate, the point is that we were at oh God, this is horrible. It was Mickey Gannon's, and Barbara said, you know, your generation is lucky. There's, other than Pearl Harbor, there's never been an attack on this country. And then the very next day, there was an attack on the country. And I thought that was pretty,
that's nuts. How that stuff happens.
That's eerie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I remember I was kind of sleeping in on my. Okay, so I guess I forget where I was living at the time. But I guess I must have been living in the dorm in the one room where used to be where the nuns used to live. But anyway, the point is that the phone rang, and I remember not answering, and I wish I did because it was my mom, and
Mm.
she's talking about how the first plane hit. And then it
Wow.
rang again, and I missed her again. I tried to call her back, and that was when the second plane hit. And I go downstairs, and the lady at the front desk, a lovely woman, she was usually very talkative, and she was just glued at the TV, watching in disbelief. I mean, not, I mean, I tried to say like, "What's going on?" Didn't even hear me. I mean, which is normal, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And then like we really didn't do much in Marywood. I was actually kind of very disappointed. A friend of mine, Alexis, she lives in the Allentown. Well, she's in Hellertown actually, but she just recently posted how there wasn't really much going on there, except that some people from the theater department did some kind of makeshift candle thing. I was kind of disappointed reading that because I thought to myself, I wanted that unity, and we never got that in Marywood. I was kind of, hindsight, I'm like, it was other people had that kind of unity, and I felt that the Marywood community we were kind of robbed from that in a way. So anyway, I guess that was that. So
You mean they didn't recognize?
yeah,
Didn't
nobody
recognize
really.
what happened?
I mean, I guess eventually we did, but it was.
Yeah.
But other colleges were more on the ball with that. At least that's from my memory. I found out later that my cousin, who manages and still manages, this would be my father's cousin, a floral shop, which would have been near the World Trade Center, and so he was trapped there until they were able to open the roads again. But he remembers, and I'm sorry for people listening or watching what I'm going to say, but he remembers being hit by a body part, and
Wow.
it was very traumatic for him.
I bet.
And of course he was covered in ash because he was just really literally right there. And people that they knew were trapped in Canada, and interestingly enough, they made, I think it was a musical. I can't remember. I want to say it's One of Us or something like that, or I forget. But
Wow.
it was about the Canadians, a Canadian town harboring Americans during the, I think a week or so that they couldn't, and they had to take turns going in and out of planes. It was just horrible time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bad time.
Okay. So yeah, and so then we lost Norm Macdonald this week.
We did.
And
that was heart-wrenching. Oh my God.
The misery continues.
The misery continues.
And so the last thing that I think he was on because it was only a couple years ago, and he was sick during then, was the middle.
Yeah.
And I really liked him on the middle. I liked the middle. I really liked him on the middle. But anyway, I'm sure there's the two of you can have much more to say than I, to be honest. So
yeah, I mean, Norm Macdonald. I wasn't that familiar with his stand-up work because I'm not a stand-up type of person. I don't like. I
like to sit. Oh, sorry.
I like to sit. Good one, Nick. Who knew you?
I missed it, but I heard it. It's really cheesy. So continue.
Who knew you fine folks would be attending a stand?
I hear that. Yeah, Norm would love this right now. He really would because it's super cheesy.
Yes,
I liked his delivery. I liked his approach. I mean, I always enjoyed seeing him in films, and I thought his delivery was like it was just perfect.
Strange.
It was very much Norm Macdonald. You could never mistake him for someone else, and he was a complete, unique funny, all-encompassing person, and it's sad to see people like that go, because I think he is part of a certain snapshot in time
Yeah,
of a type
I
of
would agree.
comedian and actor that is just not around anymore. So, yeah, it's sad.
Very.
Yeah.
When I found out Norm died, I felt like I have lost the ability to laugh really hard at a joke that he would be able to tell, and only he would be able to come up with all those little nuances that were in his material. And then I saw Conan O'Brien, who was great with him. They were friends, obviously, and they always had a good shtick going. When Norm loved going on talk shows, and he also loved doing like old-timey routines that no one really remembers or would have looked up, and like old stuff like Rodney Dangerfield. And he would just do that stuff, but he wouldn't say anything about it. And if you knew it, you did. And if you didn't, like, you'd laugh. Like like he'd make things up, and he'd see how long he can keep you on for.
Yeah.
And everyone would sit in for these long tales of this joke with all these strange kind of little details that he would add that would kind of make it like his thing. And you get there for this punchline, and like you didn't even know if you were supposed to laugh at it. But like as a person that can think somewhat as let's say an amateur comedian, that guy had me rolling on the floor. And then there's some other people that'd be around me, they'd be like, I don't get it. And I'd be like, I don't think everyone's meant to get Norm. And I think Norm thinks that's hilarious. And I get Norm for thinking that way. And I know Conan definitely understood that. And I saw a tweet by Adam Sandler, and he definitely understood that. So it's like, I don't think anyone's ever going to pull off Norm like Norm did. And no one's ever really meant to. So with his passing, we lost a brilliant point of originality. I'm going to say that he was brave. Conan used the word relentless, and he was relentless in his style. He never wavered.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And he was brilliant. He really was brilliant. He might have even been like a little bit ahead of his time. Like, who knows? But yeah, that guy's great. Go watch anything that you can find on YouTube, wherever. Just put his name in, start watching some of the stuff that he does, and you'll see. You'll get it. You'll see. Look at the stuff on late night shows with Conan O'Brien. You'll like that. And that's what I'm thinking. Remember him how he was funny, and he never did talk about him being his illness at all. And that was just something he'd rather keep. He did keep private, and he did have that aspect of his life hidden. And apparently he was battling cancer for 9 years. And
was it 9? Wow.
9's 9. Oh, geez. But when I saw Norm Macdonald, I thought it was like the worst timed April Fool's joke. And I thought my friend Joseph in South Carolina, who sent it to me, was messing with me. Or he got me on like a disinformation kind of thing where like you could be doing something online and someone pops up somewhere and goes, Will Smith's dead. And Will Smith's not dead. But like, a lot of people are like, oh my God, Will Smith's dead. But he's not. And for a couple seconds, I was in denial. Much like 9/11. That's kind of funny. I lost my thoughts. Wow. But whatever. I mean, things like that happen. We have to stay strong and carry on. Right?
His quote about cancer not winning, taking someone's life. When someone dies from cancer, his quote about it's cancer didn't win or you didn't lose, it was a draw because you're both dead.
Is that what he said? Yeah, he's a son of a bitch, man. Like I don't even like look at Twitter, because you asked me the other week, do I have Twitter? And I just saw his Twitter account, and it's like, I like bananas. They are yellow. I'm like, why? I'm like, no, I'm reading this and he's dead. And I'm like, Norm, you're messed up, dude. There's something wrong with you. Hilarious. Like you're funny, but you're funny and strange, but you're still just funny, and it's plain and it's simple and it works. And dang, you were good. Yeah. You were really good. He'll be missed, by me at least. Yeah. Couple, 2, 3 other people.
So yeah, that's good. Thank you both. So back to school, right? And for grades 12 and under. I think
Mhm.
colleges got started before, unless you're in Georgia or California and you're like all year round. The point is that some people have read. When I was teaching in a brick and mortar school, we did Willy Wonka, and
Nice. Old doll.
yeah.
Right?
So let's talk
Nice.
about Willy Wonka, the movie, the original movie.
The original.
Yes,
The best.
1971.
We'll call it 71. How about that? Because it's
Yeah.
not 2005 with Depp, and it's not breaking news. Boop, 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 boop. 2017, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo decided to put out Willy Wonka. So there's three versions. There's 71, 2005, and 17, correct?
I thought it was Tom and
think
Jerry,
so.
but that's okay.
Was it Tom and Jerry or Scooby-Doo?
I think it was
Tom and Jerry. You're right.
Was
Yes.
it Tom and Jerry? Yeah.
Yeah. It was animated. I didn't see it.
I don't recall that one.
I don't really think it was a big thing. I think it was a minor thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
so yes.
I very much found out about it after the fact. In fact, I think it was
Right.
grouped with the movies I was watching on HBO Max because they have the rights to it. So it must be Warner Brothers or something like that.
Mhm.
1971?
71. Gene Wilder, dude.
Gene Wilder.
All right, let's get to the chase. The boat scene. Should they have taken it out of the movie or not?
The boat scene?
Boat scene, because it's missing and
No.
stuff for TV. They took it out internationally. They won't play it in Germany. I don't know why. I know it's weird and he screams and stuff, but like you still don't have to take it out of the movie.
I can't remember how they did the boat scene in the remake.
Did they put it there?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Did they? Okay, yeah.
They did it.
Well, it's in the book because I remember it from the book. So
Oh.
yeah.
The book.
Well, I mean, we really at some point, maybe in the new year or something, we should do a Roald Dahl night because he has influenced not only movies, but
Excuse me. Yes,
he also did some of the stories made it onto Broadway, and
Roald Dahl night would be easy to do. That'd be great.
And even our wonderful Wes Anderson did the fantastic Mr. Fox.
Mr. Fox, there he knows. Okay, good.
But so yeah, but that's neither here or there. So Willy Wonka, so there are differences between the original. See, okay, so you have people out there who are split between the original and the remake with Johnny Depp. And we watched
probably
the original,
shouldn't do
of course.
that, right?
Well, the thing is this: Gene Wilder was a happier Willy Wonka, and many believe that Johnny Depp, although a little crazy, played a more accurate Willy Wonka. And if you read the book, maybe that could be true. I'm not here to talk about that point, but there's other points that we could talk about. But yeah, Gene Wilder, for those who don't know Gene Wilder, it was also a very good comedic actor, and from the old time. I mean, I'm not talking about Red Skelton old, but he studied these people, of course. He was from the classic time, and so he was one of them. He was in the original producers before they changed it into a musical. And his late wife was Gilda Radner, who was on Saturday Night Live. So the original cast of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And so that's this is a person who is deep rooted in American history. This is not just somebody that just walked off the street. So,
Respectfully, honestly, I think Gene did a better job than Johnny at it. I might be biased, but I didn't see all of the 2005 one with Johnny Depp, so I don't want to say he did it. I don't want to. I want to say it now, but I don't. I have to be honest and say that I didn't see all of the one with Johnny Depp in it. So
yeah.
I know Tim
Right.
Burton directed it, and he doesn't mess around, so it's probably
He
pretty good.
doesn't.
Well, yeah.
It's
So
okay.
that's what I was talking about, like how Johnny Depp was more like the book. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, but
Yeah.
but but for 1971, they may have wanted someone who was more lighthearted,
Mm-hmm.
because so first of all, the book was called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is interesting because the first original movie was called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
Yeah.
and because I guess Willy Wonka candy or whatever, but um, so that's changing the main character in a way, so the
Yeah.
focus. So if they're gonna have the focus on Willy Wonka, then I guess that's why they want it, and they're thinking candy. Why not have this being the way it is? So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, the three of us grew up with the happier Oompa Loompas too.
Yeah, we
So,
did.
Yeah.
which was another issue for some people, because the Oompa Loompas in this movie were not like the ones in the book at all. They had green hair and they were orange, and in the remake they corrected that. So, and the songs stuck with us from the 1971 version.
Yeah, that was the part I was impressed with the most, or maybe that was the part where I should have sat back and been like, "Holy moly, was I able to retain the music in this film?" Because as soon as it would come on, and I would be hearing it for the first time, I don't know how many years it's been since I saw Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971.
Yeah.
With Gene himself, like walking around, being nice, prim, and proper, being calm. But I'll tell you what, sometimes he would turn it on, and he would look nuts.
Yeah.
And then he turned it back off, and I'd be like, well, how does he do that?
Yeah.
But that's Gene Wilder, but also the character.
Yeah.
And that's why Johnny Depp took it a step more. But anyway, yes. But so yeah. You have, now I've completely forgot what I was going to say about all this, but these songs,
the songs
the songs in the remake actually were almost verbatim to what they were in the book. So the songs original were not found in the book whatsoever. But they made the movie, they made it more alive. And that's why I kind of gravitate towards the first one, because I like to feel happy at the end. I don't like to feel it's not really the second one's not really depressing, but it's more cynical. I mean, there's a major, one of the most major differences with Veruca Salt. Is that right?
That's her name. Don't wear it out. Major character.
Veruca,
so what happens to her in this movie?
Veruca in the 71 version has to learn a lesson. So if we were to they all have to learn lessons.
They all have to learn the lesson.
Yeah. So this movie is as Primetime and I were talking about a week ago. We were wondering if there's going to be a teaching element or a teaching tone to this movie, and it turns out there is, because there's plenty of things for these kids to learn from the very beginning of their tour in this factory all the way to the end.
Yeah, but what happened to what specifically happens to Veruca in this movie?
I can't remember. I can't remember.
It's very famous.
Is it it's not the chocolate bar. It's not the chocolate bar one.
No.
What no. I just typed it in a search and it gave me an American alternative rock band.
What was it? What happened to Miss Salt? What happened to Miss Salt?
I'm going to listen to this, guys. Let me right back.
So I want to make sure that I get the right character. I want to make sure that I got the right character. There's the one who is turned into a blueberry, and she has to be.
That's
juiced.
Violet. That's Violet Bogart.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Veruca Salt is the one who ends up with the geese, and she wants a golden egg.
Mm-hmm.
She's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Okay.
That's
So,
sweet of me.
in the book, there's no geese. Now, I thought about this. I thought to myself, geese in traditional like fairy tales were, the golden egg thing that was like a symbol for like wealth and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And she was from a rich family, so I'm thinking maybe that's why they changed it. In the book, she ends up where the squirrels are cracking nuts, and so she becomes the bad nut that goes down the chute.
In the film, she goes down the garbage chute too, right? In the 71 film.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like the golden eggs and the geese and the squirrels,
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
think
gotcha. Okay, yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised you guys are bringing up the Johnny Depp film. It just
Well,
did
only
not.
because of the book.
Is that a straight up remake? Was that a remake of this one?
Mhm.
I think it's a straight up should have never been done. And I love
I don't
Johnny
know enough
Depp.
about. Did you see it?
I did.
What'd you think?
Unfortunately.
What'd you think?
Unfortunately, I saw it.
You didn't like it?
I shut it off. I shut it off halfway through. I think it's a film that was a cash grab.
Yeah.
I think it was Tim Burton on a cash grab, casting Johnny Depp, trying to redo what he did in his Tim Burton films.
Of the earlier day, yeah.
Of the earlier day. I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. It looked pushed. And in terms of like holding a candle to the original, Gene Wilder, and what they did with the film, anyone who's a child who grew up watching that, it was, I don't know. I felt like that was my reaction to it. This is an apparent cash grab. It's like, you can't do something original. We know you could do something original.
I got your taglines for you. The tagline, because you're the critic. It would have been like cash grab. What? Or no, even better. Forced fun. I felt like it. I got into the beginning of it. It wasn't even 10 minutes. I shut it off. I felt like I was being shoved into forced fun. This is Willy Wonka. This is Tim Burton. You're supposed to like both of this. Look, it's Johnny Depp. You have to like it. I'm just like, but
yeah,
I want Gene. I want the original.
Yes.
Where is everything I know? I like Tim Burton, yeah, and I was okay with. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't really okay with the remake, and I was just holding on to everything that I just loved about the original.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that comes down to the fact that people didn't understand that the book was like that, and that's what that's the bigger point here, because so it opens up with them talking about how Willy Wonka built this palace out of chocolate for Prince Pondicherry in India, and that's where he discovers the Oompa Loompas, and that's like a major thing. And I actually kind of like that point, but that was totally left out of the 1971 version. But so when you're watching the Johnny Depp version, they introduce this fact about Prince Pondicherry. It takes you on a new adventure, and it really dives into the book. And I think, but because Gene Wilder was so animated, and because there was such an uplifting,
I can't get him out of my head. You put Johnny Depp in his place, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I kind of like the original.
That's why, because
the original was very much a kid's film too. It was a film for children of the time. I mean, the Johnny Depp film, it kind of lost me there,
Well, yeah, but the thing is, in sticking with the book, it's still for kids because you're still having the same lessons. It's more cynical, and certainly the Oompa Loompas are not your happy little people. But
I agree. Yeah,
it's still sticking with that book, and so all right. So the other thing here is that the differences between the 1971 in the book and even later is how poor Charlie's father is. Now, Charlie's father in the book was alive. In the 1971 version, he he was dead.
He was dead. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was a major point, I think, because actually, and I know I have a habit of doing this, but I want to talk about why that's a major point later, because it's going to tie into the next movie
Okay.
about poverty. But anyway, so the other person that they made major in the 1971 movie was Slugworth, and
Slugworth.
and he wasn't a major character in the book. He was just someone that was there. So that was a very, it was kind of like this 1971 spy thriller effect.
Yep.
Kids, you know,
Yep.
but they exaggerated the character.
They did.
So
Yeah.
So
I mean, 1971, fantastic. Gene Wilder. I thought it was super magical. Watching it, watching it as a kid and rewatching it, I got the same feeling. Rewatching it and over the years growing up watching it, it was like, wow, this thing is creepy. This is like, you could tell it's 1971. Someone coming out, like the writers, people filming, principal photographers are like, these people were absolutely into acid.
I don't know what they were doing back then, but they were doing something, man. Because I watched that when I was older, and I realized, I'm like, who let me watch this when I was a kid?
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
And you can go to any of your favorite local gas station or truck stops and go to your DVD and retail bin and pick this puppy out of there with probably a DVD crossed with 4 movies, if not just Space Jam. But the point is that it's a kids movie.
Yeah.
But it's sort of made by people that had the vision past a kids movie, and maybe even past that Roald Dahl part that Primetime was talking about.
Okay, so bingo, yes, because you have to think of the perspective that Roald Dahl was trying to go back in time in his mind and try to teach the lessons that he wished he would have learned. So he is writing this from an adult perspective. And you kind of have to know his other stories, Matilda, BFG, James and the Giant Peach. And when you piece it all together, that's why people were, in 1971, were trying to figure out how they could do this. And I think they did the best job they could at the time,
Yeah.
I mean, we all love the Augustus when he's sopping up all the chocolate and you have that iconic Candyman song. I mean, that's one of the most iconic songs that people still sing.
It is.
It's up there with Over the Rainbow.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking for the tagline. Do you want to try it, Nick, or do you want me to do it?
No, but I'm just saying, so you have iconic things here in the 1971 movie that you kind of lose, and you have iconic lines also, like snodsberries taste like snodsberries, I mean, so I mean, but that's funny, and you don't have that humor in the second one, but that's because they really, in my opinion, they really just wanted to stick to the book. So
the fizzy lifting drink.
Well, that's another point right there. So that was also exaggerated for the movie. That was not as much so in the book. He didn't have that as a reason for why Charlie does not get the factory at the end. And well, he does, but that just thrown into the movie. So that whole contract thing was not in the book at all.
Yeah.
But it made it kind of, I guess, humorous. In the book extends past the scope of the movie. Kind of. It goes off into. So Charlie then takes his grandparents and they go off into this magical area. So, in other words, what mistakes we do, we can, I guess, kind of hopefully learn and fix and become these magical people. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what I got from that. But that was a good point when we talked about that. I did like that scene, of course. But
Me too. Yeah. Yeah, but that's interesting. It wasn't part of the book. Yeah, but I could see why. Now, I didn't know that. That's interesting because I think that added a lot of drama to the end of that film, especially like, the way Gene Wilder acted out. You stole fizzy lifting drink.
Right.
It was very
right.
dramatic, for a kid to be like, oh my God, I'm going to not get my factory.
Yeah. But it also showed a dynamic of the character that was probably part of the book that they didn't know how to get in otherwise.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Plus, it also shows Gene Wilder. But yeah, and someone who also kind of likes to be dramatic is someone else in this room. But anyway, moving on.
You're talking about your plant and Portia at the same time. That is not respectful to either plant nor cat. You owe your cat an apology, and you owe your plant some soil and some water, as far as I can see.
So one thing I thought was weird as a kid, and I still think it's weird as an adult, is the buckets all sleep in the same bed. Come on, you're not that poor. You are not that poor.
I think that might have been one of the points they were trying to get past was that this boy's family is just so super poor. Like
you are not that poor.
They're trying to say he's that poor.
But they.
That's a good point. It's a really good point.
Yeah,
but I think though they were sick though. In defense of the scene, I thought they had something that made them bedridden. Correct? Did they have an ailment? They had an ailment or something like that, and the grandparents were stricken to the bed, or Grandpa Joe couldn't get out of bed for a medical reason, I believe. We'll have to Google that. What was Grandpa Joe's medical condition?
Well, I think there's a important thing
Joe's
here, and it has to do more about a point that I found, and here's the quote: integrity has nothing to do with wealth.
Yeah,
and that also brings me into the next movie that we're going to talk about, but. And that's why I saved that point for the end, because it's true. So these people, if you're talking about being honest, and half these characters were dishonest, but who's honest? Charlie Bucket.
Charlie is.
So yeah.
There's an entire Reddit thread on trying to debunk Grandpa Joe's actual illness.
Is there really? What'd they say?
I don't know. I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
No, don't go down that rabbit hole. You might not like what you find.
But is it okay, gentlemen, if we move on to the? Oh, do we have any other final comments of Willy Wonka?
Watch it. If you want to be freaked the heck out.
Whoa.
Watch it. It's weird. It's weird. It's good. It's creepy. It's odd. It's funny. It looks like something that was filmed in 1971. And if you love that look, go watch it. It's great acting, great story. From what I'm hearing, because I did not read the book, is it's a poor translation of book to film?
Well, yes and no. Mediocre translation. Can we go with mediocre? I don't want to say it was a poor translation. I mean, it did have a lot of elements into it. Yeah. But anyway, if you want the happy version, see that. Yeah. If you want the more realistic version and closer to the book, see Johnny Depp.
See the Johnny. I mean, you should watch Johnny Depp films.
Or Tom and Jerry, apparently. But
Johnny Depp. It was Tom and Jerry. I looked it up. Oh, and if y'all are having enough fun getting your Willy Wonka fix on tonight, you better get ready for 2023, because that's the next one.
No.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Look on the Wikipedia. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? I'll end this on a nicer note. Let me do the taglines. It's everybody's non-pollutionary, anti-institutionary, pro-confectionary factory of fun. It's scrumdiddlyumptious.
Oh, there it is.
Scrumdiddlyumptious.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yes, I
there you go.
That. How could I forget about that?
Scrumdiddlyumptious.
But anyway,
those are good taglines.
Before we transit, just in one thought, and I know it's off topic, but
sure.
I am not a fan of remakes, and they are just They are just apparent cash grabs.
Yes, thumbs down, guys. I'm not here to trash every remake, but I'm going to have to back up JV on this one. BD and JV are going to give you, hey, you're being really unoriginal by doing a remake. Can you come up with something new, please, or just not do anything at all? Like,
technology is 100 times cheaper. Yeah. There's access to millions of more, directors, producers, writers with the internet today. Why? Now we all understand why remakes happen, because it's proven. If you put X number of dollars and these faces in front of a camera, tell them to do things, it's going to sell. Especially if you put Disney behind. It's going to sell because it has sold in the past.
Yes.
So I get it. I don't like it. It's the dumbing down of film. It's the dumbing down of Hollywood, and it doesn't do any justice to what I feel the great writers, directors, authors, actors, et cetera, of the past built. And I'm sorry, that's my rant.
No, that's fine. That makes total sense. I'll back you up on that one, a hundo.
I would say yes, because we do need more creativity. However, I do think that it depends on the remake, to be honest. At least that's my opinion. I mean, and then I don't really think, in all fairness, you can say that the current remake, I don't know why they're doing 2023. That is beyond me. But the current remake,
I swear, I just
I think I want to give Tim Burton a little credit for trying to make it like the book, but. I understand, and mostly I would agree. So
it's just, I don't know. It's a pain point for me. It's a pain point, and I didn't want to see that happen to something I love so much. I always felt like film, was this thing where, you could still do that.
Well, you do have other generations to think of too. I don't.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I guess things ebb and flow and they change, and maybe it's just old me being disgruntled, wishing it was, we're still, yeah. So, but I have hope. A24 drops a lot of really nice films.
They really do. That's true.
You do. I look at them as the focus features of today. But anyway, I digress.
That's okay. That was good. Okay, so I wanted to talk about school movies, and I originally my thought was to talk about this wonderful movie, Freedom Writers. Briefly, it was a good movie, a true story about this woman who's trying to teach in 1990 something in California. 90s. And the end of the movie is wonderful because, those who know Anne Frank, the person who was institutional hiding Anne Frank was Meep or Geese, and the people in the story wrote letters to her, and they brought her back to speak to these kids. I thought it was a wonderful story. Reminded me of a movie, 1967, where I was astonished as a teacher now in 2021, watching To Start With Love with Sidney Poitier, one of the best actors to have lived. Watching also a true story of a man who was in I believe the Royal Air Force or Navy of England, who after the war in the 50s, he wanted to be an engineer.
Yeah.
And he then got a teaching position because he couldn't make it as an African person, so that he would have been British African. He couldn't, or African British. Anyway, he as an engineer at the time in the 50s. So he took this teaching position, and that's one of the points that he let's see. So this is autobiographical. It was written by Eustace Edward Ricardo Braithwaite. E.R. Braithwaite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
1966.
yeah, that when the
59.
movie, right. That was when the book came out. So the events in the book were
Wow.
before 59, and then but they kind of revamped the events to make it more 60s because that's when the movie was being filmed.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, there is a younger version of Patricia Rutledge, who was one of the teachers. And for those out there who love British comedy, Patricia Rutledge starred in Keeping Up Appearances, which is one of the most famous ones to come and air here in the United States. It was in the 80s or 90s. And she's in this movie. She's obviously not funny in this movie, but she's in the movie, and her name in the series in Keeping Up Appearances is Bucket, but she calls it Bouquet, and of course in the last movie we have Charlie Bucket. But anyway, that's nothing to do with anything, but but she's in this movie. So another person in this movie is Lulu, and she's the one that sings at the end of the movie. The song, if you want, I could give you the sky.
Oh, yeah. Lulu is an artist of that day, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
And that was a big song, correct?
That was a very big song. Very big song. And I don't know if it was because of the movie or not, but who did she marry at first without looking it up? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Maurice Gibb. Maurice Gibbs is Brothers Gibb, right?
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
You're losing me, Nick. You're losing me, Nico. I can't find your knowledge. Like I always say, I'm
still working on the pronunciation he did before that guy's name. Wow.
I know.
The author. His last name is nuts.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness me.
Let me try. Eustace, Edward, Ricardo, Braithwaite.
Braithwaite.
Okay.
Yeah, Braithwaite.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Okay. For those who do not remember the Bee Gees, Maurice Gibb was part of the Bee Gees.
Oh.
Whoa.
Okay. I see.
Was George Michael in that band or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Jesus.
That
anyway.
The Bee Gees of now.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Gary. So Lulu married him, and then I guess eventually divorced him, but that's who she married. Yeah. She is from, oh my God, I want to say South Africa, and he was from Australia, of course. So, Yeah.
Good film. Good film. I thought it was.
Yes. It had a lot of points, and I won't go through them, but yes.
It had a lot of points. From the highest level, I thought it was like I kept catching. Like I feel like this film here may have paved the way for like freedom riders and the film in 1985 with Morgan Freeman, Lean on Me.
Yeah.
I feel like it paved the way for those type of films, and the way it was presented, where it was like, hey, I'm going to take this job as a teacher because I'm waiting for an engineering job. And then it's like, he absolutely falls in love with teaching. And I think it becomes his calling, and he realizes, well, no spoiler alerts, but
we should have said that in the beginning of this whole thing, but yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I think it's a gradual love, and I think it's not really literally to the very last second.
Yes,
where he changes his mind.
It is. You're right. It is gradual.
I didn't see it that way. I saw that he saw the offer for the engineering job he wanted so badly, and he reflected on what he had done there that day, and decided that he hated that. So he would take the engineering job and move on with his life.
No, but he tears up the offer at the end.
He comes back and he scotch tapes it. He wants that job.
No, he did not.
He comes back secretly. He's like, "Fuck,
He's like, I'm not doing this every day. I'm gonna be an engineer and make more money.
and that would have been very contrary to what happened in real life. So yeah, I don't.
To answer your question, he's an immigrant.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, they talked about him being from which is modern day Guyana, which was British. I can't even say what it was before, but was
you got it.
Mark
Yeah, but it wasn't
Thackeray.
pronounced that. But yeah. So anyway, the point is that he so he did his field experience in South America and whatever. So anyway, so there's some things here. He realizes, so maybe this is part of the love thing. He's reading a book at one point, and it's called Teaching the Slow Learner. And I thought that was amazing because, as a teacher, it's something that we constantly are trying to recap and talk about.
Is it? Yeah.
In special education. And here he is in I'm going to say that 67 was it was the film, but actually in the mid 50s, before special education started to take place or build. And so I would love to know what that book was. I thought that was a very interesting point. And he makes it very obvious that that's what he's reading, Teaching the Slow Learner. Because he coming from an island nation, or maybe, I don't know, wasn't an island nation, was part of South America, I guess. Coming from that and then educating himself and pushing himself forward through life, and then coming to poor East Side, which is one of the poorest areas of London, and teaching predominantly white kids, right? With the exception of three students, to pick up the fact that they're not learning is an interesting comment, in and of itself, to me anyway. So you have that, and then he says something very shocking. I'm sick of your sluttish manner. And why is he saying this? Do we remember?
Didn't he do it after they were trying to burn something during the shop on the stove? He got mad.
Yeah.
He got really mad. He told the boys basically to knock it off because he didn't appreciate what they were trying to do, and something had something to do with a female hygiene product. That's when he said to the girls, "You with his line there."
Yes.
He said.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he sent them out. Yeah.
Well, they were burning a tampon, but so
there you go.
He got so triggered by the burning of the tampon.
Yeah, that really.
Well, but I mean,
who wouldn't?
Well, first of all, it's 1950s. Second of all, they're burning something in class that even today that would be like shocking. Which is kind of interesting because apparently my father, who was in school in the 50s, was telling me this story, and I don't know why, but anyway, he was telling me a story about how he went to Regis Catholic High School for boys. And in the one time that the priest had no idea that there was a fire being started in the back of the class. So I'm thinking about if that happened.
Great classroom management, pal. Way to look around. You're only in charge of so many people for so long during the day. And when there's a fire in the corner of your room, you better look alive.
Where to smell?
That's it. I mean, that's happening. If that's happening in 1950s, very prim and proper Regis High School, I can only imagine, in 1950s London, these girls burning a tampon or a towel or whatever it was, and so I mean, but the reaction of calling them sluts totally is like inappropriate, even for especially for today. Even back then, but even back then, it was, I would believe, inappropriate. But I mean, it proved a bigger point of his character too, right?
Yeah.
Because there's also, and I don't know if this was in the book or not because I didn't read the book, but there was also a mention of bleeding kind of throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What? Yeah. You're right. I picked up on that too. I thought that was odd.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bleeding throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, this I could see. I thought the scene was smart with the burning of the feminine napkin or whatever. But his I don't know, it was important too because then it kicked off like the way that he felt the kids needed to be separated and refer to one another and start behaving after that. It seemed like it was that event that triggered him into being like, you know what, I really need to take this serious.
Well, yeah. So he opened up discussion and allowed them to be them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also something that was never done before, going back to you talking about paving ways for autobiographical movies like Lean on Me and whatever happened
Dead
other
Poets.
movies. Yeah, Dead Poets. There was a bigger point here about that, but I forgot what it was. But that this movie is on some lists as one of the top forerunners of that genre. So anyway,
a lot of films share that same theme. Like starting with this one, I think this was probably the first to start with love, and then like we have Lean on Me in the 80s, and in the 90s there was sort of an uptick of these type of films. There was another one too. I'm glazing over in the 80s, but remember in the 90s, Dangerous Minds,
Stand and Deliver,
Freedom Riders, Stand and Deliver.
Well, Freedom Riders wasn't set in the 90s, but actually was made now. That's a very modern movie. So yeah.
Well, the theme is very popular. I feel like this had a lot to do with paving the way.
But they're all.
I got you. In one sentence.
They're all autobiographical.
Wait, what?
They're all autobiographical. Sorry. Go on. Bob, go ahead. You were talking about Dead Poets Society.
Okay. So I've been looking for a contrast, and even though I can totally agree that over here it'll say even with the weak moments, they're saved by Sidney, who invests his role with like that subtle warmth, and his performance is like it's outstanding.
It's outstanding.
But then someone will come back and counter, with the film collapses under the weight of its own niceties. And then as soon as you started talking about how it reminded you that this movie would have paved the way for the next X amount of educational kind of themed movies, I saw this one and it's perfect. It beat Dead Poets Society to the punch by over 2 decades. And I was like, oh, it kind of did.
Yeah, it did. Well, because it was one of the first ones. Yeah, but people recognize that in a very good way. There's another thing here. So he says, it is your duty to change the world, not by violence, but individually. And I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if that was thrown into the book or if that was something that was written for the script solely or not. But, in the 60s, of course, you have a lot of upheaval. And I thought that was interesting coming from someone who's African talking to a white class. I thought that was a very interesting dynamic and very interesting thing.
And we deal with racism in this. It deals with racism in this.
It does.
Very
it really
on
does,
brand
actually.
for the time, right?
Well, let's talk about that for a second, actually. So, as I get settled into my chair here. But anyway, so there's someone who dies in this movie. Who dies? Wrong! I mean, sorry.
Sending you guys a message.
Right.
In case you want to know how to say Sidney's last name the right way. It's not easy.
Who died?
Continue. My bad.
One of the students' mothers die, right? One of the students' mom passes away, and then here's where we see like the entering theme of racism. Because take it away, Nico. You run with it.
It's part of it. But yes, that's right. That's correct. Seals was the character. His mother died, and so they didn't want to go to his house to get flowers because he was black.
Yeah.
But but they had no problem with the teacher being black. And the other thing is that he was kind of very revered in the town. He goes shopping, and you have the woman who's selling fruit, and like, sir, come up here. This is sir. He's the teacher. So you have this kind of, I don't know.
Respected. Yeah.
Yeah, but you also have the disrespect at the same time.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you had both going on here.
But yeah, and I think that was a lot like the time.
Yeah,
It was a lot like
another,
that time.
yeah, another thing that was brought up was, aren't all South Africans white? I mean, you couldn't get any more. I mean, he was making a joke,
Yeah.
but it was, but it was very. It was in the movie to make a point, and you can't get any more racist than that, But it also shows the ignorance in the uneducated area of that part of London,
Mhm.
and what he was dealing with.
Yeah.
Right, because we all know that South Africa was conquered by the English and then the Dutch, but we also know South Africa.
Nico, and you need to educate. You need to educate the our loyal audience, because I don't know that.
Really?
So, hey, I don't. I'm not a historian. I'm not a historical buff like you. You contain the knowledge. I got to download it like.
But
Morpheus.
I mean, like during the 60s in South Africa, the biggest thing was apartheid, and that was very much echoing the Jim Crow laws in the South and some of the other laws that were even in the North in this country. So you have very, very harsh segregation laws. In South Africa and here in the United States, and I guess so to say something like South Africa was white was totally disregarding the fact that it actually was not white.
Sure.
And then I'm going a little off topic here, but a district was District 9 about the aliens in South Africa.
Yes, it was.
Loved it. I loved it.
That was a great film. By the way.
Okay, so the point is that was to show what segregation was like. You kept the blacks who were, or the dark people, they were kept in these ghettos, and District 9 does a very good job of portraying what that was like for apartheid. And you have Nelson Mandela, who fought against that and was imprisoned for that. So they knew that in 1967 making this movie, and that's why that was a very major point.
I never connected that dot with District 9. Like it was.
Oh yeah, that was when I saw the movie. That was one of the criticisms at the time. Yeah.
Was it? Okay, yeah. Because I didn't pick up on that. I was
plus
totally enthralled with that film.
Yeah. Well, plus the fact that the guy has to become an alien at the end, and so so the white has to become the black. But anyway, that's off topic.
Like that. We should do that for another.
I like District 9 a real lot too. I use it now as my own when places are crowded. I'm like, it's like District 9 in here.
but that's also kind of a slur because that's also kind of a slur because that's also referencing the fact that that's how the people were treated in Africa.
Yeah,
but we're getting off topic here. We're talking about Surf Love and how that was in the movie. But yes, yeah. But anyway, so. Another thing I noticed was that the blackboard, no matter what he was trying to teach, had nothing to do with what he was trying to teach. As opposed to like freedom writers, everything on the board was everything that she was trying to talk about. But on the blackboard in this movie were things like Mark Twain and Edgar Allan Poe, which is pure American. I just thought that was an interesting little thing that I noticed as I was watching it. I try to look for these kind of like little things. So.
That is an interesting thing. I would have never picked that up. Thank you for highlighting that. Now that's going to bother me. I have to go back and look at the content of the blackboard.
Well, both in Freedom Writers, but anyway. All right. So here's another thing, a contrast between Freedom Writers and this movie. The outings, the field trips, which I absolutely loved in this movie. So they had these still shots of them in the museum, but
Yep.
it was almost like it was like a yearbook kind of thing. And I
Yeah,
thought that
I can
was
see
a
that.
very ingenious way of filming that. Instead of just having them walk around, they just had these like shots, which is also very 60s and maybe even like 70s. So, oh my God! So we have one movie that was filmed in 1967, one was filmed 1971. I love it. Anyway, so yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. Did I wake you guys
Number
up? Anyway.
20. I thought it was interesting too, like doing a little research on this. I thought it was so Entertainment Weekly, I guess, did a movie ranking of like
Uh-oh.
the 50 best high school movies, and this
Okay.
hit number 27. I'm just surprised it even showed up. That
What hit
people
number one? I'm
even-
surprised it showed up too.
Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Wait,
It's not often that.
Wait,
Who's filling these polls out?
Wait, you're surprised it showed up on the list at all?
I'm surprised it showed up in the list at all. But well, I guess
Really?
take into account Entertainment Weekly, maybe it's a different demographic that's taking the
Yeah,
polls.
but I mean,
and
this
giving
is a
feedback.
pretty powerful movie, and it was
Who
actually
took number one?
I don't know. I forget.
Breakfast Club? I bet
There
you
was
the
some
Breakfast Club did.
Breakfast Club's all over it, but there were some weird ones.
Fast Times?
Scary,
Fast Times at
scary
Ridgemont High?
movie. Scary movie. It was like
Scary
all
movie
over
doesn't
the place.
count.
Well, it was kind of like when I saw the film on it, I was like, why? It's like, I don't know. It looked, I'm like, the film is special. The film is a film. It shouldn't be lumped in with like these other garbage type of
Yeah.
movies. I don't know. Like, it just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm very
Because-
No,
nervous
you're
today.
good. I get you.
It actually was on number one on another list.
Was it?
Oh.
Yeah. And I believe it's a fantastic film, and it needs to be in the company of something that is equal to, if not better. And like lumping it in with like Scary Movie or
I don't
like
see
some
Scary
cheesy
Movie. I could
80s.
see Scream from '96 working, but I don't see Scary Movie working.
No.
Mhm.
But anyway,
All right.
I thought that
so,
was interesting.
Yeah. Thank
Ah.
you. Yeah, that was good. Thank you. But
Rebel
the,
Without
so
a Cause? maybe?
the museum thing, and what I thought was interesting about that is you have these kids laying down next to statues, because right before the scene he's talking about how your haircuts would be like the 1920s and your clothes would have come out of like a couple hundred, or if it went 1,000 years ago, he said, or whatever he said. I just thought that was interesting. And the other thing that was interesting is that he said he used to speak what was known as a patois, simple English. And I have from Penn State, I have a ESL English language learning, or English as second language specialist certificate. And one of the things they taught us is that when you have these dialects of English, it's just good to teach the correct, and then to allow the dialect to flourish as it does. But the point in this movie was that he was saying that just to be more educated, you can change the way you sound, the way he did. And I don't know if that would go over today or not. But to me that was a very interesting point about different times too. Yeah. So anyway,
I like that. I like that trip to the museum. I thought that's that, like, I don't know, like it was cool to see that. Like I'm very curious now, like if that at that time when this was filmed, if there were other films doing something similar, if this was the first that did sort of like a montage like that. Because Lulu sang, I think that was the scene where the song was sung, right? Like To Stir with Love.
That's actually like the second time it's sung in the movie. But
okay, yeah, but I remember like it stood out to me there because I thought the photography was fantastic.
It was,
and the images were very interesting. But yeah, I thought that was a cool part.
Well,
That's
in
pretty
a way, it
slick.
almost was like a James Bond kind of montage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, James Bond was beginning in this time period too.
And it makes sense now when you said it was kind of yearbookish. I like
Yeah.
that. I like
Yeah.
that. That's a good dot to connect. It really had that vibe now that I think about it. It had that feel. Like that was the yearbook moment, which is so popular in so many high school based films. If you think about it, you know, either beginning credits or end credits or somewhere, you know, in the film where they
Right.
break
That's
out
very
too.
true, actually. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Hughes in Breakfast Club at the end too.
Yeah.
They're walking, but you can almost do still shots there too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though Breakfast Club was not an autobiographical movie, but still, yeah.
Great film, though. Great
I-
film. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a great film.
The other thing, you know, they talked about, so these kids they still had a respect for the old ways of talking because they talked about, up the frog, the road and toad and stuff like that.
Mhm.
They talked about old phrases and stuff. I thought that was interesting too. That goes back to colloquial speech and everything, and how the English language developed, and how they use the things from nursery rhymes and stuff. I don't know. I just love finding these things. I'm sorry if I'm rambling on here, but I don't know. I really think that because this movie made these points, I think other people weren't afraid to, you know. But maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. To me, it seemed that way, but I don't know.
That's a
Maybe
good statement. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like, especially dealing with the issues of race, like dealing with. I thought it was really racy to deal with the topic of a sanitary napkin in a film for that
Well,
time. It was
but
like,
yes, it was, and that's
was.
good, though, especially since the book was written in the 50s.
Yes.
And so, I mean, so that was even
Very
more
taboo.
so. Yes. And
Very
that's why I
taboo.
brought that up. Yes.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, so also around this time, you have the movies like Sounder, which is also dealing with racism. If you ever saw a wonderful movie with Cicely Tyson. But anyway, so you do have things emerging here, you know?
Well, sure.
But you're right. But yeah, so you have gender issues.
Yep.
And you have racism, and you have a lot of things being talked about here.
You do.
Classism, poor, and that's why before I was talking about you don't have to be rich to have integrity. It's another thing that was brought up in this movie, Willy Wonka, and this movie.
Yep. Edgy. It was edgy. I think it was edgy for the time. Edgy.
Yes.
Edgy.
Okay, let's talk about another issue here. I love this. I'm gonna get my smoking pen out. But anyway, so
have your smoke.
Yeah,
it's prime time.
So I need like some like wine, and anyway.
Yes.
So the other thing that's the fats thing, so you have this kid trying to jump over the gym horse, or whatever it's called, the thing where he's trying to jump up and
the gymnastic,
and then
it's called.
and then they chase the gym teacher with the broken part. That's major, especially for a movie like this. Sure. First of all, they kind of respect this kid who is heavier, but yet they call him fats. But also, like, they were trying to defend him against this gym teacher, but ultimately, oh my God, what was the character's name that Sir? But anyway, he says, you can't go out into the world when you're angry and use weapons, right? And I thought that was interesting because you have the film saying, "Oh yeah, let's go after the gym teacher," which and then you have this guy saying, "Wait a second, you can't do that." I thought it was a very interesting point and a very
Denham. Was that the person's
name? His name was not Denham, but Denham I think was another teacher. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the fight. The fight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yes, that was another. Yes, right. Yes.
Yeah. One thing I thought was surprising too, and I don't know if the data was accurate, but it's kind of like a geek out point because I like to look at the budget sometimes and research different cinematographers.
22 million.
Yes, it cost.
That's what it made.
It cost 625 grand to make, and it made 22 million.
It made 22 million, and in our terms, if you use inflation, I think they made what? What would they make here? I'll just figure that out.
That's a massive success.
Yeah, it did really well.
Really well.
I looked at its numbers was the first thing, and I'm like, what?
I had like triple check that. I'm like,
I was like, this is wrong.
But wow. I mean, yeah, but see, we're watching this from a different perspective in a modern day. But you know, I'm wondering if it was these issues that made it.
I think so. The edginess. I think this was the film where you're like, you gotta see it.
And it doesn't. It ends on a very uplifting note, though. You know, it's actually a very touching thing where you have this. The Asian girl brings the gift up, and it's like a mug or something. And, and he's finally dancing with that girl, that Miss Dare, that
Pamela.
Yeah.
She chooses them at the lady's choice. The lady's choice dance. Yeah.
So I mean,
they get the little present. I liked it. The end for me, I'm like, this is feel good.
It. Well, that's why I liked it.
Good.
Yeah.
Feel good. It's a nice story. It was a really
42 million, JV. 42 million.
42.
Yeah, if you convert it to 2012, it's worth $42 million from the 22 back then.
Oh my god!
So doubled.
I think great.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I mean, So, you don't expect this to be a feel-good movie, you know?
No.
So some of the autobiographical things are, some of them are not. And you go in thinking, like, what is this going to be? And you know what? With all the issues that are brought up, you really don't know what it's going to be, to be honest, because it kept on spinning around. And it ends up, I don't know if it ended up well for the real life person or not, but it wasn't something that you left feeling depressed. I mean, yes, you have the issues, and there's still going on. But in terms of character wise, you did walk away with a better feeling than you did going in, hopefully.
Yeah, you did. Like when this ended, I'm glad you suggested this too. I'm glad you suggested it because I'm really glad I watched it too, because for me,
well, it's September, it's school. I want something old.
I liked it. I liked it though. I liked it. I like to be pushed into those areas to be like, you know what? It's maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone, but check it out. I came out of it like wanting to consume films that felt like this. I'm like, I need other ones that are like this. So
that's why I wanted to do Freedom Writers, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's something we could do. I mean, Freedom Writers is fantastic. And like, I'm making this weird, like I'm drawing these dots between this and Lean on Me, because for me, that was very much like the movie that's ingrained in my mind as the first thing I saw from like a super raw, like educational perspective, being young at the time, seeing it. I thought it was interesting that this took place in East Side London.
Right.
And the film Lean on Me takes place in, I think, East Patterson, New Jersey, and the name of the school is East Side High.
Oh wow!
So it was like, it's a rundown area.
That's a direct drop there, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, and I didn't research it as much as I possibly could, but I'm thinking there's like a connection there, an ode to like some of these things, because of course it was Morgan Freeman,
right,
taking inspiration, of course, from the greats of the past, and
right, yeah.
Like it. I like this. I think folks watching this need to go and see this. I like this.
Good. I'm glad. I'm very glad. And I would agree. Yeah. The other movie that comes to mind is Dangerous Minds.
Dangerous Minds. Yep. Dangerous Minds. Yeah. Yeah. There was another one too. I thought there was another film that dealt with like educational topic, teacher being instrumental. Well, actually, one of the I think arguably one of the best episodes of the hit. Well, the sleeper hit, which became a hit years after its time.
Uh-oh.
My
Here we
so-called
go.
life. My
Oh.
so-called life
Oh,
in the
yes,
90s.
I
There
would
was a
agree with
very
that.
there was a very like motivational episode where there's a teacher who
Mhm.
is extremely like motivating and like just such a powerful force for Angela and Ricky, you know, and her friends in my so-called life in this episode. It reminded me of that too. So and you know what I liked about this? It reminded me of every single film that had dealt with these themes
Mhm.
from an educational standpoint, educator standpoint, positive role model teacher in someone's life. They're all good. They're all good.
Yeah,
So
well,
there's
yeah.
they're all good. So if you like the feel of this, you're going to be able to find dots in time as you move from the 60s into the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. You're going to find films that feel like this
Ah.
that could only have been made because of this. So go watch
I
it.
agree. Well, I mean, I also want to hope that they could have been made anyway. But yeah, you're probably
Yeah.
right. You know, yeah.
I feel like for me anyway, like that's always like a theme I come to. Like I'm always trying to pay respect to the great films of the past, the great
Sure.
directors, actor, you know, because like
That's where you should be. Yeah.
like to do a film at this time, like
Mhm.
that time in the late 60s, and to write this type of literature in the 50s,
Oh
that's
yeah.
controversial. Who's publishing that? That's what I'm saying. Like that's controversial.
Because it wasn't. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Controversial.
Well, that's it. I mean, we should probably maybe look that up. But the point is that it must have been big enough for them to make this movie and to pick. I don't know where he got his start, you know, but
Yeah.
I mean, he later on went on to the movie, The Heat of the Night, and in the Heat of the Night or whatever. So, but yeah. In the heat.
The author died at the age of
104.
104.
He died at 104. And that was an impressive age. I was going to come up with that little Jeopardy factoid for you, but you beat me to it, USOB.
How about his occupations, Bob? Didn't he have like wild occupations or something? He's an author.
He lived a full life. I'll just say that.
Yes. Yeah,
but that was also brought up in the
over a
movie
century.
as a point, you
Was
know,
it?
because
Yeah.
before he went, he said he talked about how he used to be a janitor, he used to be a short order cook or something like that, or but he was proving the fact that you can build up in life and become better than what you are. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, that was good.
Occupations: novelist, writer, diplomat,
Well, he was
teacher,
novelist, but yeah,
pilot, like
mm-hmm.
pilot.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to be a pilot now.
Using the war, that's why, but yeah.
That's it.
Here's your wings.
That clinches it. I'm going to do it.
Do it.
I'm going to become a pilot.
Do it, Iceman.
I mean,
Goose. What happened to Goose?
Even Prince Harry was a pilot, you know. So
yes,
yeah,
alleged
anyway.
pilot. But go see it. 2 thumbs up. Go see it. Pave the way. Nice.
I mean,
Great
I
acting.
saw this on my favorite Turner Classic movies, and you know that's got me into all kinds of things. So
yeah, Turner Classic is, you know, I don't have cable. And I dropped cable many years ago, but TCM, Turner Classic Movies, is
I think you can get
a
a streaming
channel. You could, but
plus, I mean, on Amazon, you can get this movie on Amazon Prime. So you know, for those who want to watch it,
yeah. So check it out.
Poitiers, Sydney.
It's out there on the interwebs. You could find this. Go and acquire it. Pay for this. Amazon.
Sponsorship. Ah!
All right. Well, on that note,
making me
I want
do
to say
stuff.
good night and submit, or you know, subscribe and not submit.
Submit.
Sub-
Don't subscribe. Submit.
Tap out. Tap out and
Submit.
tap our subscribe button. Why don't you tap out by tapping our subscribe button and you
Yes.
could submit to subscribe? How about that? That works
Yeah.
out, right?
You can't submit to subscribe. To tap.
Smash the subscribe, tap the subscribe, do something with that subscribe button. Keep coming back,
Submit
please.
to it. Submit.
Even if it's just for Nick's Greek charm.
Submission.
Anyway,
Brutality.
good grief.
Oh, good night, folks.
Flawless victory.
Some Mortal Kombat. Finish him.
Whoopsie. That's my favorite. And the guy comes up in the corner and he goes back down. I'm like, that is not necessary.